How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which was up 11% on the day. If you remember what I said in my previous video, the recent catalyst that we went over was a big time game changer. And of course, Lucid did show a delayed response. But you know what? It's actually done this many times in the past when it comes to the stock price. But you guys know I was saying I wanted to see it get to 20 bucks. But you know what? We'll talk about it further in this video. I won't be wasting any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $19.27, being up 11.00%, so 11%. When we take a look at the range on the day, on the low it tested $17.46, and then on the high testing $19.93. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 39.476 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 31.685 million shares. So we had above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reason why we've seen some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 51.11. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and we are above the 21-day EMA. And this is exactly what we wanted to see. If you remember, I've been talking about wanting to see Lucid going to $20 this week. We ended up seeing a high at $19.93. No surprises there, since we know that $20 is a psychological area. There will be a lot of sellers here, and considering we are in a bear market, we have to keep in mind of this. So if we go into tomorrow and we see strength in the markets, of course I'd want to see Lucid break $20 and see if it can make a move at the 50-day moving average, which is at $21.32. So again, add that to your homework. Now, if we decide to consolidate or we have a pullback, I definitely want to see some strength from Lucid, most preferably if it could hold up $18. But if we stay above, let's say around $17.80, that's not too bad. As far as for the low of today, it was at $17.46. So $17.80, you guessed it, it would give us a higher low and it will be looking really strong going into next week. So overall, strong day for Lucid, and let's just make sure that $17.50 can hold for this play. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 18th, we have Nomura Holdings Inc. They went in with some calls in the value of 250,000 shares. We also see that they had some puts, which was, whoa, there we go, 1.94 million in regards to shares, and you can see the value change of being an increase of 95%. And then we also see them again with 9,325 shares with a value change of 98%. And this is negative, all right? So now let's move on to the short interest. The off-exchange short volume ratio is at 57.58%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 5.43 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 3,000, updated 27 minutes ago, and then for the short follow-through rate, it is at 15.99%, with a high today being at 24.81%. Now, when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 17th, it was at 54.39, and then for the close of the 18th, being at 57.58. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 21.26%, Lucid does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see on the inflow, it was at 137 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 131 million. So we had an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 3.77. On the medium, it was 88.59. And then on the small, it was 45.03. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 2.15 million. On the medium, it was 81.22 million. And then on the small, it was 48.08 million. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see from May the 19th, which is today, we had that inflow of 1.62 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, it represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 2.37%. So you know what? This is actually higher than usual. We're used to it being in the 1% range. But I'm also not surprised why it's elevated. We saw a lot of volume coming into the play since it did try to make a strong move to get to $20. And I know that did attract the attention of a lot of traders as well. And considering we are in a bear market, that volatility is going to raise up that turnover ratio. So let's go into the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for Lucid, before we start talking about the price action, let's talk about why this stock ran up. Like I was talking about in the previous video, we had that recent news showing that Saudi Arabia is going to be injecting $3.4 billion over the next 15 years for Lucid. This will help them with their production goals and as well as putting the facility together in Saudi Arabia as well. And knowing that Lucid needs financing, this is definitely some great news that investors are going to be excited about. They already know the car business is a capital intensive business. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent. So knowing that they're going to be getting help in this department, it's really going to help propel the company to move further. And this is why I say doing your homework is very important. Yes, we did get a delayed response, but Lucid has actually done this in the past as well. We also have to talk about the price action. So we ended up seeing a high at $19.93. But let me know, if you've been watching this channel long enough, are you surprised by that? We talked about that $20 is a psychological area for this play. I also wanted it to go to $20 this week as well, and I was saying if we saw some strength in the market, then that would happen. But here's the thing, we didn't see a strong market whatsoever. It actually finished red, but Lucid was able to pick up a lot of momentum. So if we end up having some strength in the markets going into tomorrow or for next week, I can see Lucid moving up even further and being able to break above that $20 level. But we have to make sure that the bulls are stepping in. The volume is coming into the play, and we do see when we saw that order flow, institutions that are loading up as well, and we do see some interest on the retail side. As far as for the low that we tested at $17.46, I would love for us to form a higher low going into tomorrow, so anywhere above $17.46. So whether that might be at $17.50 or $17.60, whatever the case may be, I want to see some strength above that level, but at the bare minimum, let's see if we could hold at least $17.50. We also have the 21-day EMA, which is around $18.42. And if we actually hold support at that level, it can get very interesting going into next week. Also, we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership. You can clearly see that there's a good amount of hedging that is going on amongst institutions, which we're not surprised about. And then when we took a look at the short interest information, of course, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential, and we also are seeing a reduction in the short volume. So this is why it is very important to make sure you're doing your research in the play. I know many of you were able to bank on some profits on Lucid today, and I want to send out a big time salute to all of you. And for everyone who loaded up on the dip when the stock pulled back going into the $13 range, you should be seeing some green in your portfolio. We saw when doing the technicals, it was extremely oversold, and the fact that it picked up quite a bit of steam and is trying to get to $20 in such a short period, I feel that is very impressive. So I definitely want to see some strength coming into these markets, and if we end up seeing that, especially for the tech sector, I could see Lucid making further moves up. So that's why have your game plan in place. Know your risk management, know your entry, know your exit. But for the most part, this play is looking good, and I will continue to keep you guys updated. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.